I just finished a invitation to address in Cape Town 5 very big investment entities from overseas in Europe. They are only willing to start investing in the Western Cape. The Western Cape has got Saldanha and Cape Town Harbour, and KZN has Richards Bay and Durban. Now, let's quickly talk something that's brewing. MK is infatuatedly trying to take over the control of KZN, and the DA already has control of the Western Cape. Now, if you talk about battle strategy, which you know...
So it's getting more real, guys. South Africa's political climate is slowly transforming into a battle of ports and harbors. Neil Libe in this video is actually breaking down how the MK party is fighting for control of the KZN, and also the DA party, as it's trying to maintain its power in the Western Cape, seems to be transforming into a battle between the MK party and the DA party for control of the Western Cape's ports and harbors versus the ports and harbors in KwaZulu-Natal, which would be likely most controlled by the MK party. And this is a major fight that Jacob Zuma is actually trying to spearhead. Let's listen to how he breaks down what's going on right now in control for the ports and harbors in South Africa, and I'll be back for some interesting analysis.
We have got such a diverse bunch of political parties. Yet we know that although they are diverse, the DA is diverse, MK is diverse, new kid on the block, most radical of them all. And now you have these people sitting around, and what they don't understand is no matter what we do, there is an international political menu that has to be plated and served the minute that we get back into running the country. And I just told you, the reason I came late is because I just finished a invitation to address in Cape Town 5 very big investment entities from overseas in Europe who have dealt with me before, who actually wanted to spend 2 hours with me and say to me, are you going to last? Must we remove our money? Or can we get ready to reinvest? Now, that's it. That's the crux of the matter. We've got to calm down the current fluctuations of emotional politics, the rhetoric that's being spewed, and we've got to say to the world out there, because we need their money. South Africa is not an island. We need FDI, foreign direct investment. There are 3 key notes, Chris, of foreign direct investment. I think I've been involved long in the economy to understand. 1, safety and security. It's critical. Secondly, stability of the community. And thirdly, is this product, SAPTY, investable? And those are the things that we've got to go back there and tell them, we are going to be able to take hands and fix this country so that it becomes the pearl that it should be. You can see the dollar, you can see the rand, you can see people that are saying, oh, we were going to put a factory in South Africa, we'll rather choose Nigeria. And this is what I'm trying to tell the people. And today, mate, I say, even if it was just 5, I've saved the day. They are going to stay, and they're going to wait for this to pass and then look at opportunities. But here's the fortunate matter, no matter, it depends on where you stand. They are only willing to start investing in the Western Cape. And I looked at that and I went, that's quite interesting. And I said to the one guy, I said, Ryan, why would you do that? And he said, because the only place that we can look at the barometer of stability is the Western Cape. And that's sad, Chris, because there are 8 other provinces in this country that are attractive, that are good. And now there's this rumor that people that are in control in certain provinces are absolutely going to protect their own investment structures potential. What we've got to also understand is in the KwaZulu-Natal province, I'm going to tell you something now which is critical. Hear me. I think you're the judge, Chris. In the past couple of months that you and I have spoken, a lot of the stuff that we've spoken about has come true. So here's another one. This country has got 2 major infrastructure ports that do import and export. Now, interesting. The Western Cape has got Saldanha and Cape Town Harbour. And KZN has Richards Bay and Durban. Now, let's quickly talk something that's brewing. MK is infatuatedly trying to take over the control of KZN. And the DA already has control of the Western Cape. Now, if you talk about battle strategy, which you know is my first and foremost attractive hobby, these are economic battle lines. Because if you now see that instead of a country being dominated by a singular party, provinces are now going into coalitions to become independent, not like Cape Exit or KZN Exit. No. But political control that will give them power on the most important structures of the economy of this country. Now, that's interesting because now you've got a national government, whatever's going to pop out there, but you've got provincial governments who are now kind of also walking away from the ANC, without a doubt. Zuma controlling KZN and the DA controlling the Western Cape. Watch that space. Watch it grow. We're sitting with a radical separatist government that's settling in for the next 5 years. Now, that radicalism, that separatism, is not just on tribe, it's not just on race, it's not just on religion with the Israel-Palestine scenario that caused a major rift in this country. It also now is becoming an economic separatist radical formation. So if the ANC throws their dice and they say we're going to go EFF, MK radical, then I'm telling you, like I've said to you before, this is doomsday.
Yeah, so what do you guys think? Really interesting speech. I think Neil de Beer has a really interesting military angle to his arguments and his political analysis of South Africa. And it's really interesting. You see how, Jacob Zuma's entrance into this politics, into the politics of South Africa at the moment, seems to be a really strategic one because I remember in a video I was watching recently in an interview on Eyewitness News, Jacob Zuma reminds the reporter that he's first of all a politician and a strategist, you see, and so he's not into this for money, but he's into it for trying to fight for the people of South Africa. Now, Neil de Beer is arguing that one of Jacob Zuma's strategy, which many people did not see or really perceive, is slowly transforming now into a fight for the control of the ports and the harbors in KwaZulu-Natal. And so, if the MK party assumes control of KZN, while we know that the DA tries to maintain its control of the Western Cape, we know that these two cities have really important ports and harbors that have, I think even in KwaZulu-Natal, the Durban harbor has actually been argued to be the largest in Africa, or one of the largest in Africa. And we see that these ports control they determine a lot of the economic, force that South Africa stands on as a nation. And so fighting for the control of that port, especially with the really brief entrance of the MK party in the likes of Jacob Zuma for the KwaZulu-Natal ports and harbor, and also trying to also see the perspective from the lens of the DA party, knowing fully well that a lot of investors in this video, I'll be making a video also where Neil de Beer speaks about how a lot of investors are shunning investing in the wider South Africa, but they only want to now invest in the Western Cape. So a scenario whereby investors slowly start shifting their investments heavily into the Western Cape, while MK party in the likes of Jacob Zuma takes full control of the ports and the harbors in KwaZulu-Natal. We see that that's a really interesting set of outcomes that could bring for the political climate and for the control of power and resources in South Africa. And like Neil de Beer argues, it might bring about not a sort of like a secessionism like the Cape Exit, but a kind of like factionalism, a factionalism that might tend to look like a secessionist move, but within the framework of control of resources and power, especially at the level of the parties in South Africa. This is a really new outlook, a new framework, a new scenario for the direction and the future of South Africa, and it's really interesting that we try to take note of this and understand what's happening. But for our analysis in this video, I'm really interested in a short history, a brief history of the harbor of Durban and how it has come to become one of the most important harbors even in all of Africa. And so I found a really interesting historical analysis on the history of the Durban Harbor and how it came to become a really major entity in South Africa and wider Africa. So it speaks about how the harbor at Durban is a natural bay that was discovered by Vasco da Gama in 1497 while journeying around Africa to the east. The modern port was established in 1824 when a group of British men from the Cape Colony set up a trading post along the sheltered shores of what was then the Bay of Natal. Recognizing the excellent opportunities afforded by this rare natural harbor, the group received a grant of land by the Zulu king Shaka and established a town on the land, naming it Durban after the governor of the Cape. An early impediment to the establishment of the harbor was the bank at the mouth of the port that was first identified by the Dutch East India Company when they initially considered taking possession of Natal. Although by 1824 it was determined that vessels up to 9 feet in draught could safely enter. Now in 1837, Dutch trekkers arrived in the area and they received land from the new Zulu king Dingane. The ramifications of this decision culminated in the Battle of Blood River in 1838, the defeat of the Zulu forces and the annexation of land by the Boers for their Natalia Republic. The British soon sent troops from the Cape who ultimately defeated the Boers in turn and took back the port together with the rest of the settlement. Although the British immigration to the colony increased with arrivals from the Cape, Europe, and from the 1860s onwards, large numbers of Indian indentured laborers to work in the sugarcane fields. The increased growth of the traffic in the port renewed efforts to address the bay at the harbor mouth, and the British began by building a pier from the point that they hoped would divert the retreating tide and score of Channel clear. But anyway, this research just goes on to speak about, how the Durban harbor has come to become a major force in South Africa. And any party that ends up taking control of this harbor in a way, it might, I don't know how probably the MK might want to or might seek to contravene the law, because I know that the South African law and the South African constitution would definitely override any intentions or anticipations by any parties at the moment to seek control of these harbors, because they serve the greater good of South Africa, not necessarily the need of the province where they are located. But whatever the case is, Neil de Beer is actually cautioning, that we take observation of what's going on at the moment. We see that the short history I just read, seemed to show sort of like the British and the Boers at the time. The British versus the Boers at the time actually clashed, at Natal. It speaks about the Battle of Blood River and how, what's going on at the moment, what's happening at the moment might be speaking to history, might be speaking of a reinvention of history where control of the ports at the Western Cape and control for the ports in KwaZulu-Natal might be replicating the Battle of the Blood River that actually was, that actually involved British incursions into the control by the Dutch in KwaZulu-Natal, especially as regards the ports and the borders. But nowadays, in this era, in the post 1994 South Africa, it might end up being some form of I don't know what Jacob Zuma's MK party could represent in the Western Cape, in KwaZulu-Natal, versus whatever the DA leadership could become in terms of control of the ports. And that could actually be speaking to a resuscitation of a past that actually was recorded as part of South Africa's history, replaying itself today in the present. But this has been a lot of information anyway. Let's share our thoughts. Let's really understand. Let's share your thoughts. What do you guys think about what Dare the Bear is actually speaking about in this video? Share your thoughts in the comments.